Cyber attacks are a real threat to the maritime industry. More and more security breaches are being reported. The safety of vessel operations is constantly at risk. Companies are losing millions of dollars. Crews, passengers, and the environment are being put in danger. Building cybersecurity resilience is no rocket science. It's all about people, technology, and effective processes. To identify the security controls with the biggest impact, we recommend you to start with a risk assessment of the vessel and the shore organization. Cybersecurity awareness and crew training are probably the best defense against any cyber threat. The focus on the human aspects should come first, before expensive hardware upgrades. However, some items may require altering a system's configuration, necessitate software upgrades, or hardware replacements. Employing a combination of revised or new procedures and staff or crew training, along with possible technical mitigations, offers a practical and cost-effective solution. The DNV Cyber Secure class notation can be used to support IMO compliance. It can also increase the overall cybersecurity of your vessels, whether complex ships with high requirements or more simple merchant ships. DNV is there to support you, ensuring safe ships and operations in times of digital transformation.
Hello everyone. We are live in Singapore with DNV, the world's leading classification society and recognized advisor for the maritime industry. Welcome to episode 2 of our Live from Singapore webinar series, where we discuss the most pressing safety, regulatory and technology topics in shipping across Southeast Asia. My name is Yvonne Chan and I'll be your moderator for today. Now, this episode brings together leading industry voices to explore the opportunities and impacts of digitalization on maritime operations. As the imperative to improve continues to mount on operators, owners, and managers in shipping, the transformation of current practices becomes inevitable. And although we now have more information and digital technologies available to enhance decision-making and efficiency, a fiercely competitive landscape means there is also more pressure to maintain cost and regularity while also boosting ESG performance and sustainability. It is a lot. And these challenges are the ones that are confronting organizations and its people as they try to successfully implement relevant technologies with current practices. And so our episode today, we will discuss some of these real-life observations of the challenges and how to address them. Now, before we begin, here are some quick housekeeping tips for you. We encourage you to make use of the Q&A tab on the right-hand side of the webcast today to submit your questions to our panelists, and we'll try to get through as many as we can. And now let me introduce my speakers for today. To my left, we have Magnus Landy. He's the head of Veracity Asia Pacific at DNV. To Magnus's left, we have Caroline Young, the president of the Singapore Shipping Association and the chief executive of Hong Lam Marine. And rounding up our panel today is Goh Chung Han, the general manager fleet at Pacific International Lines. A warm welcome to all of you today. To kickstart our discussion, I thought it'd be great to have each of you just give us a quick introduction about your current role. So let's start with you first, Magnus.
Thanks, Yvonne, and hello to everyone. I'm head of APAC for Veracity, which means I do business development and sales here in APAC for Veracity. But I also have a second role where I am overseeing the product of Veracity, owning the P&L, which is a global role.
Nice. Good to have you here with us, Magnus. Caroline.
Yeah, hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Caroline Young, and I run a business of small tankers, primarily within Singapore Port, as well as regional tankers, as well as I'm the president of SSA, the Singapore Shipping Association, that has about 470 members. We consider ourselves to be the national representative shipping association. Thank you.
We're very happy to have you contribute your perspectives on this panel today, Caroline. And Chung Han, tell us more about you.
Hello everyone. I'm Chung Han. Firstly, thank you to Yvonne and to DNV for having me here today. I'm in charge of the fleet division in Pacific International Lines. That's the division that handles the ship management, the in-house ship management for the fleet of vessels that the company operates.
Thank you, Chung Han. So to start the ball rolling, let's talk about how smarter maritime operations can help accelerate decarbonization. But before we get to that, let's define it a little bit. What exactly is a smart maritime operation that can help accelerate decarbonization? Magnus.
Thanks, Yvonne. No, I would at least say that it has to be data-driven. This is the topic of digital and being smart. And when it's data-driven, it's possible to measure, and then you can have attainable goals. I think that's at the heart of it. In order to properly call it smart, I would say that if you could use data-driven insights to change processes and work in a smarter way where you improve your top line or bottom line, then you have the frame around it.
So data-driven, and you know the old adage, it's not about just working hard, but working smart. We all want to work smart, don't we? Caroline, your thoughts on this?
Okay, so we do have a goal that we need to reduce GHG by 50% by 2050 compared to 2008. So in the last 2 years, when we talk about decarbonization, there is really quite a conversation in already the alternative fuels. But I see digitalization as, especially in the last 2 years till today, there's so many tools available, so many solutions available. I consider this as the low-hanging fruit in actually the decarbonization journey. So 2 examples is just-in-time arrivals, route optimization. So
just-in-time arrivals, route optimization, right? The low-hanging fruits that we should really capitulate on while we can.
That's right.
Thank you, Caroline. Chung Han, your views?
I would interpret that as the harnessing of data and the use of technology to improve the processes that are within the company and to improve operational efficiency, technical reliability, and also reduce the company's carbon footprint.
Thank you, Chung Han. You know, I know I'm supposed to maybe go to a Q&A later, but we have a great question here from one of our panelists. That's right, guys. We will be taking questions as we go. And we have a question here for Chung Han. Can digitalization eliminate EBL, the letter of indemnity, invocation incorporated in the charter party? And can payment transactions be processed safely over designated digital platforms? It's a little bit technical. I wonder if you want to take a stab at this, because we are talking about smarter maritime operations after all.
Yeah, sure. The simple, immediate answer is yes, of course. Can. Digitalization can definitely do all that. And in fact, there are many initiatives and endeavors undergoing to tackle exactly the items mentioned in the question. But it takes effort, it takes trust, and it takes technological advancement. But it is going, it is happening, yeah.
And it's moving in the right direction.
Yeah.
I like how he said, can be done, you know, so much conviction. Thank you for that opening question from the Q&A, Wylin. Now, I think top of mind for many in the industry today is how can larger scale maritime operations be refined so that we can actually promote lasting change in the shipping industry? And for this topic, for this segment, I have specific questions for both Caroline and Chung Han. So let me go to you first, Caroline. You know that Hong Lam Marine, congratulations. You just recently received the SG50 Carbon Award from MPA, which recognizes companies that have met the criteria in emissions reduction, innovation, and scalability. And that's not all you guys are doing. You've got green initiatives, you know, using biofuels, and even regular hull cleaning to promote decarbonization. Tell us what's going on.
So I believe we received the award on 2 fronts. We made it a policy to do regular hull cleaning for all our vessels on a very regular basis, and that helps to actually reduce fuel consumption. We do see, actually, we compare the data, and we do see a marked improvement once you do a hull cleaning, and then as you go through the months, you actually see the performance reducing. So in fact, for our ocean-going vessels, we use, in fact, a special type of paint, a silicone paint, and that even improves the longevity of the hull as well before you need to clean it. So I think that's one reason. The other reason is 10 years ago, we actually built a series of 10 diesel electric vessels. And we do see that there is some efficiency, not only in terms of fuel consumption, but also in terms of the operations on board the vessel.
So lots happening on your horizon. What other things are you guys currently involved in?
So that's on the company side. On the SSA side, actually, we are coming up with initiatives on the digital transformation committee and helping companies to digitalize so that they can also work towards smarter operations.
Thank you, Caroline. Coming to you again, Chung Han, I know that at P&L, you've recently made announcements to your biofuel bunkering trials. You're going to be switching to Gen 2 biofuels, and industry-wide, we've also seen more biofuel bunkering sales partnerships being inked. But the downside of the biofuels is that it's a cost, right? What is PIL's course of action on this front?
Okay, for PIL, we view biofuel as a potential solution for our existing fleet of ships. There is regulatory requirements and also commercial expectations for shipping companies to decarbonize. And I mean, building a new ship is simple. We can choose LNG fuel ships, for example. But our existing ships, we need to find solutions for them. And biofuel is a drop-in solution without having to send the ship for massive modification, etc. So we have been doing trials on our ships with biofuel. It's going well, and we will see how it goes forward with different sources of biofuel. The ones that we are doing trial at the moment is from used cooking oil. We will look to the future where we can probably trial our biofuel, Gen 4 biofuel that comes from algae.
But the biofuels that you're using now is for existing fleet, right? How about new fleets coming in?
For new ships, new building ships, we have invested and placed order for LNG dual fuel ships. I think that's the most pragmatic solution at the moment because the infrastructure and supply for LNG does exist now. So I know for sure when the ships are delivered in a couple of years' time, those ships will be running on LNG.
We'll definitely check back in with you in a couple of years' time to see how that's going. Thank you, Chung Han. Circling back to Magnus, I just want to go a little deeper in your point on using data-driven information to make better central decision making. Can you elaborate a little bit about that? How can we better leverage data for smarter maritime operations?
If you do like Caroline did and put smarter operations and digital in the context of decarbonization, obviously there's tons of fuel can do and will do tons, but there are so much potential in technology and operational measures. But all of these things, they are falling between the shares of the cargo owner, charter, the owner, and the manager, and all the stakeholders. So in order to get these decisions where both parties need to agree, we see that will maximize its potential if both parties can have access to the same trusted data, or else it's going to be difficult to...
Transparency.
And that is what data, amongst other things, can give.
Yeah, transparency and leveling the playing field. Thank you, Magnus. We've got this question here from Jürgen. How would you rate the greenhouse gas reduction potential for the maritime sector just based on maximum digitization? Cat got my tongue. If you try saying digitalization 5 times really fast. Digitization implementation. Caroline, do you want to weigh in on this question? What is the potential for GHG reduction if we maximally used digitization in here? What sort of...
Okay, I can't tell the percentage, but I am a strong believer that it will definitely lower the carbon footprint by a huge percentage. And why do I say that? Because there are so many inefficiencies in shipping right now. And if we can close the gaps of these inefficiencies, just by closing these gaps, we will see a huge reduction in the carbon footprint and therefore the GHG emissions. I am convinced, totally convinced.
Thank you, Caroline. Chung Han, do you want to weigh in on this too?
If I may. Digitalization plays a very big and important role when it comes to measuring, assessment, and differentiating the different fuel efficiency solutions and carbon emission reduction solutions. So it helps an owner when all these digitalization tools to make decisions on where to invest when it comes to decarbonization.
Yeah, making better informed decisions kind of ties back to Magnus's earlier points, right? Can I also then ask you, for today's discussion, I really wanted this webinar to focus on some real-life applications and real-life examples. So in your journey to decarbonize for both Chung Han and Caroline, what are some of the biggest challenges you faced? I know, Caroline, you said there are many, many inefficiencies in shipping, but what has been the greatest challenge faced so far? Caroline.
Okay, so we're talking about smarter operations and digitalization towards decarbonization. At the end of the day is how do we lower the carbon footprint and the GHG emissions. So I talk about digitalization. There are many digitalization tools in place right now. The digital solutions are there. I think for a company is really changing the mindset of your staff, getting them to be on board together with you to be on this journey, because you will get that efficiencies. You will get that efficiencies if you digitalize. And I'll share with you that actually we started our digital transformation journey on the company level about 2 years ago, and I really wanted to do it right. So I got an external facilitator, I got a map written out, I got workshops for my staff and get them ready to change their mindset.
Like capabilities building,
everything,
skills building
yeah.
stuff.
And then we took some time to choose the vendor. And 8 months later, I took the very difficult decision to actually stop the whole process. And
why? What went wrong?
I think 2 reasons. I did a debrief and analysis because it cost me an arm and a leg, plus the time and resources of my staff. I did quite a deep analysis. I think one is, of course, the vendor fit was wrong. It's one reason. The other, I think, although my staff was very keen to be on this digitalization journey because they know that it has to be done because that will help them to work from home. So there is a push for them to do it. But I think once doing it, it's actually really asking yourself to really change the way you think and ordinarily do things. And I think that was tough. And so I decided to stop. Okay, we do a reset. We go back, we learn from all the mistakes, and now we are starting from ground zero again. Yeah.
Do you think it was tougher to make that decision to acknowledge that this isn't working, or to actually start from ground zero? To put a halt to the project, I think it sounds tougher to actually say, yeah, I have to stop this, but here I am going to start from ground zero. Which was tougher?
I think to stop the project because you spend 8 months of your blood, sweat, and tears, yeah, and also the amount that you spent, you're not going to get it back, yeah, in terms of dollars and cents. So it was a very difficult decision to do, and I talked to my staff, and I made sure that they convinced me that they really want to stop this, because I told them it's costing me so much money, and all your time and all your effort. Yeah.
I guess it's better to stop it at 8 months rather than 2 years down the road.
I totally agree.
Right? Yeah.
I totally agree. Yeah.
Pain first rather than dragging it on a lot longer.
And it's not a wasted exercise because everyone learned. Yeah. So I think there were a lot of learnings from there. So hopefully we will be successful this time.
Thank you for that very candid sharing, Caroline. Yeah. Chung Han, what about PIL? What do you think were some of the biggest challenges you had to encounter in your journey to decarbonize?
I think one of the bigger challenges, I would say, will be the number of solutions out there. There are just so many of them. And to figure out and to decide which one is best. A good solution might not be a good solution for your company or your fleet. Depends on the size of the fleet, the type of ships, and the trading area. And then to decide on which one is best suited for your fleet, and also, of course, the support from the management to believe that the solution that you are proposing is the correct one, because again, there are so many out there. And the third one will be having decided and all that, to win the confidence and the acceptance from your staff, echoing what Caroline mentioned. The staff, the employees of the company must believe that this is the way we are going, this is the direction, and they are willing to adopt and adapt.
So is PIL on a digital transformation journey currently as well?
Yes, we are. There are a lot of new platforms, new solutions, and we are transferring or transiting from the existing and older platforms and solutions. And sometimes it can be, probably we can call it growing pains, for lack of a better phrase.
Yeah, this is a question I want to come back to because I want to talk about the receptiveness and how to, change management within shipping itself. So let's touch on that again a little later. But for Magnus, I want to ask you, as a recognized advisor for maritime transformation and innovation, how is DNV empowering ship owners and operators to decarbonize?
In many, many ways. At the top of the mountain, we invest 5% of our revenue to do research and development, for our purpose. And one of the things we do is, for example, invest in making the energy transition outlook, help our customers and the industry at large to navigate all the uncertainties and complexities on the macro level. As a class society, like we have been doing for more than 150 years, we invest in class rules, recommended practices, standards, etc., to help build trust in increasing the uptake of new technologies, new fuels, etc. On the advisory side, more than 500 people globally, we advise SME advice on expert items from hydrodynamics to emission to everything pertaining to implementing, even building digital transformation roadmaps, holistic ones. And now, which is what I work mostly with, digitalization and Veracity has grown tremendously since it was launched in 2017, where we now manage more than 10,000 vessels and help the owners and the managers and the stakeholders of these vessels with trusted emission data, so that they have a starting point for how to and where to focus for improvement.
I still want to stay on you for the next question, Magnus, because I know that DNV, some of the key enablers that you guys have identified is digitalization and using new technologies as main enablers to accelerate this move to a low carbon energy system. And of course, with any race, we call it the race to net zero. That means we have people at the front and people kind of lagging behind. So there are some players I know in shipping and maritime that have established themselves as leaders in this field. What factors make them leaders, and how can other players emulate their success?
A couple of things. We have already touched upon some of them, but I would say, if there's three things, first of all, size matters. You cannot expect the small and medium ones to lead the pack on innovation and change and investment in it. And two, accountability, meaning paying for the fuel or being accountable for the emissions. And third, obviously, if you are listed and you have investor scrutiny on emissions, those three things really matter. Now, in terms of actually improving, I want to echo what both Shonghan and Caroline said, and that's the fact that the technology is already here. So the ones that have understood that there is a jungle of technology ready, but focuses on figuring out the purpose in the fit for purpose. So from DNV's point of view, the race will be and set the winners apart from the losers for those that are good at implementing change with the in terms of capacity and capability. That's going to be the big change, and not focusing so much on fancy technology, but more focusing on what is right for them.
Yeah, fit for purpose, like what Chung-Han said. And I also want to talk about size. Caroline, Magnus says size matters. In your role as president of Singapore Shipping Association, how then can we help the SMEs catch up in this race to net zero?
Yeah, so actually in the last 2-3 years, when I became the president of SSA, one of the things I did was I set up this digital transformation committee with the support of our council members. And one of our mission was to uplift the SMEs, hold their hands and bring them along in this digital transformation journey. And I will say 3 years later, we are doing so many things, and really kudos to my DTC chair and his committee members, which I found out that Magnus is one of them. Yeah, so thank you.
Isn't it great that we have a face-to-face
Yeah.
discussion today?
Yeah,
and we can
exactly.
catch up on all this.
Yeah, exactly. And what they're doing right now is we are working together with ESG, we're working together with IMDA, we're working with MPA, and we have already identified 3 companies, 3 SMEs that we are going to start their digital transformation journey with them. And we're going to hold their hands and walk that journey with them. And we hope to have 10 companies on board by this year. And then once, hopefully, we get that success stories, and then we build on that momentum, and it starts to gather a life of its own. And we get
Multiplier effect.
Yes, and then we get all the SMEs on board. Yeah.
That sounds wonderful. Still staying in your role as president of SSA, I want to talk about mass flow meter technology because we know that Singapore is the world's largest bunkering port. We've just completed 5 years of using MFM technology for marine refueling operations, right? And you said before that this technology has helped level the playing field in the bunkering space and also enhances integrity and transparency. Tell us a bit more about that.
Yeah, so this MFM technology was a game changer. But this is not only the MFM as an equipment, it is also the system that supports it, as well as the standards that is behind it. So with this system, with this technology, you are able to be assured of the quantity that is delivered to your ship. So pre-MFM, this was not possible. So therefore the integrity. So then when we talk about technology in terms of smarter operations, before MFM, each bunkering operation takes about 10 hours. And with the MFM, actually it brought down to at best 4, if not 6 hours. So with that 4 hours of savings, you actually have, again, optimization and also less of the engines running, and again, fuel savings and reduction of GHG.
Thank you, Caroline. I still want to stay on the topic of digital transformation and come back to our Q&A because we have a really interesting question here. Assuming you're fully digitalized in your business, but your business partners and customers are not ready, that's really interesting. Can you share how you're going to address this challenge? For example, bunkering operations for Caroline and container ship operations. Chung Han, let's start with you first.
Yeah. Okay, I think in terms of engagement with business partners and customers, there are different levels of engagement. Assuming that PIL, we are fully digitalized in our business, and we engage with some business partners, and we need them to be on the same level where their systems and our systems can communicate with each other. Yes, then we really need our third-party business partners to be equally at the same level, more or less. However, when it comes to, for example, customers, front end, retail, we are fully digitalized. We have to ensure that the interface of our systems out there is very user-friendly. The customers doesn't have to be digitalized in their business or whatever. They are users of our system. So our systems has to be, it's just like Apple make the iPhone.
Yeah.
Users of iPhones doesn't have to be fully digitalized, but the system, the digital system must be so user-friendly that it's very easy to use.
It's like human-centered design.
Yes, yes.
Same thing and you have to incorporate that in shipping as well.
Yeah.
And was that part of your digital transformation journey?
Yes, yes. We have a new front-end solutions for people to make bookings for containers and all that. And yeah, the user interface is very convenient, I would say. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you, Chung Han. How about you, Caroline?
So I do share the same as what Chung Han says about the different stakeholders that you have. So for us, we actually talked about this, and a lot of our contractors are actually even smaller SMEs, and they are not digitalized. So we need to come with a platform where they can go to our platform. And when they work with us, they need to go to our platform and work on our basis. So the way we give out our purchase orders or our work orders and the way they do the invoicing. So with our customers, just like now, because I deal mostly with the oil majors, we have to work on their platforms.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's then how do we digitalize and that they find it user-friendly for them on the working level. So that's how we see it. Actually, the other stakeholder that I feel that I will have a challenge is actually my crew on board. And how do I train them to also change their mindset to be digitalized and not be frightened when they open up a system and then they rather go to the Excel sheet.
Yeah.
So it's really also that stakeholder that we need to do a lot more training because they are also out at sea and operations are busy.
Yes.
So it's also that area that we need to think about.
Change is always difficult to accept.
Yeah.
Do both of you have like capabilities or skills building programs in place right now? I mean, I know Caroline is starting from ground zero again.
Yeah.
What have you put in place this time around that you think should work?
Okay, so I have brought in a change manager, someone who's experienced, who can give me the advice and drive that, and then he reports to me and another director. So then both of us make the decision and then it moves. So I think to me, you need to have that. But really I feel that the failure woke everyone up. And I made it a point to tell them how much it cost me so that everyone knows and that we need to, the next time you're not allowed to fail anymore.
Yeah, it was a good wake-up call, huh?
It was. Yeah.
How about you guys, Chung Han? I mean, what kind of training programs are in place to ensure that change is better accepted in PIL?
We actually have a transformation department now. And they do a lot of transforming in terms of processes, in terms of systems, in terms of people's competency.
Yeah.
So they roll out training program. They work with different departments and divisions within the company to improve the processes. There's a huge transformation process ongoing.
The team must be big, right?
The team is not exactly that big, about 5 or 6 persons, but they branch out and they work with each divisions.
Okay.
And to look into how you can improve your processes and your staff, what kind of training they require, and then they work with HR to roll out those training.
Yes.
Work with IT.
Yeah.
Roll out those IT training,
Yes.
cybersecurity training, etc. Yeah.
You guys can get, please,
Can I
Magnus.
just chime in here? Because I think we're touching on an important topic, and
Yes.
I feel that change is a common denominator here.
Yes.
And I want to bring up the word empathy. And 2 examples. We work with tons of ship owners and ship managers, cargo owners on their improvement. And there's 2 very practical examples which we have observed. And the first was a ship owner we worked with which tried to implement fairly advanced algorithms.
Yeah, yes.
You know, sitting here, it's easy to make up these decisions and nice and glossy plans. And what they found out, you know, when this was supposed to affect the people on board and change how they work, these people on board, they struggled every day to remember and fix the password, go into the PC where we're supposed to connect to this system. And the connectivity was off, and the cybersecurity responsibility was given to the guy that is responsible for locking the doors. You know, if you don't know these things, how can you cook up this algorithm?
Yeah.
And another example is, you know, the typical save fuel by digital measures is minimize the number of auxiliary engines you're running.
Yes.
Right? And you can monitor that by how many engines you have running all the time.
Sure.
What this other ship owner didn't pick up was the fact that their second engineer, which is normally responsible for the auxiliary engine, he had in his KPIs, in order to go to first engineer, he needed a certain amount of hours, running hours of auxiliaries.
Oh no!
He wanted to have more running, so it was conflicting KPIs.
Absolutely.
So obviously it didn't work. And if
Yeah.
you don't apply this amount of empathy, then it's going to be difficult to do the change.
That is such a great point. Are you guys taking notes? When you go back to your transformation departments, you got to make sure it's well integrated into all the plans that you intend to roll out. Thank you for that, Magnus. We have a question here that I think we would like to address that too. Do you think the digitalization journey can attract young and fresh grads to work in maritime industry? Will you give them opportunities to create, innovate, and lead where cost and risks are involved? That is such a great question. How can digitalization, I think, make maritime more attractive? Who would like to go first?
If I may.
Yes, sure.
I think all this is happening in the maritime industry. Digitalization, the usage of data, and there's a lot of opportunity. And there's a lot. Singapore being the international maritime center, there's a lot of opportunities and innovation ongoing in the maritime sphere in Singapore itself. The thing is, it's a competition. It's a competition with the other industry as well, in IT, banking as well. So Singapore being a developed nation and a place where there are a lot of other opportunities as well. So it depends which industry is more attractive. Yeah. So we are in maritime, so we have to do our best to attract the young talent.
Actually, before this conversation started officially today, my panelists were talking about the older folks in maritime, who are the younger ones. I think we identified Magnus and I were. Magnus, your points on this, how we can attract fresh grads to work in this industry?
I think they want to get their hands dirty and they want to work on meaningful stuff. So I think, if you can do these two things and put them in front of the stakeholders and the customers, that's really good. And just one example that we did a couple of weeks back at, or is it a month now, at Nord Shipping and Singapore Maritime Week, which was at the same time, we arranged a hackathon where we allowed our data and algorithms to be freely used by inviting Microsoft, Fernley brokering, and universities and startups to solve, for example, how these data can solve specific problems. And then industry partners came with problems. And that was like a super good turn up, and that shows everyone that we're willing to invest in.
It's encouraging, right? Encouraging evidence as well. Yeah, fantastic. Caroline, your thoughts. Also, while you talk to us about this, how do you think we can attract more females to come into this industry that we agreed is very much a male-dominated one? I know you accidentally fell into shipping after law.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm very happy for this question because it allows me to pitch. So, Singapore has been voted the leading international maritime center for 5 years in a row by Menon Economics, and I think Singapore Baltic Exchange is 7 or 8 years in a row. And one of the pillars in Menon Economics for determining whether a city is a leading international maritime center was marine tech, and marine tech was voted, Singapore was voted number 1 because the government is very encouraging and has put money where its mouth is. Our SMS, Chee Hong Tat, has said he wants Singapore to be the Silicon Valley in marine tech. So there is a lot of push, a lot of monies put in, and many companies are setting up their companies here. So, and maritime is actually, for lack of a better word, we're a bit of a laggard. I can't believe we're still doing paper BLs, but we are. Yeah, so that's how backward we are. So we are on the cusp of change. We are at an inflection point. So many digital solutions are coming up. So many newer solutions are coming up because there are so many problem statements that are being put to the IHLs and to the startups. So this is the time where if you want to make a meaningful impact, this is where you should be. Yeah.
Wow. What a great rallying call. Yeah. If I had listened to that 2 decades ago when I was still in university, I could be in shipping right now.
And for women, I mean, really, when you talk to the CE of MPA, who's also a lady, myself, and the union, the Singapore Maritime Officers Union, the head, who's also a lady, really there is no, I think discrimination happens everywhere. But in maritime, we are so inclusive. We are such a tight community, and we are such a vibrant community. And just now, when I was talking to Magnus, is really the passion in this industry. So when you come in and you feel the passion of this tight knit community, you'll be sucked into it, and you will enjoy yourself.
I love that. And Chung Han said he felt very threatened.
I thought that was supposed to be off record.
Just kidding. Now, as with all new technologies coming in, let's talk about cybersecurity risk, right? Because that threat is very real across all industries and especially in marine tech as well. So what are your organizations doing to effectively manage this, Chung Han?
Yeah, in PII, we take this very seriously. There have been a few examples of other ship operators, other container line ship operators that have faced massive problems with regards to cybersecurity. We definitely do not wish to have the same problem. So we are very careful in ensuring that our existing systems that we are using are sufficiently protected. And also any new systems, any new software platforms that we bring on board are sufficiently secured in that sense. And also it's an evolving thing, you know. I mean, a platform that is secured today might not be secured tomorrow. So there's a lot of effort being put in by our IT division. We are also fortunate to have a very supportive management and board that allow us to continuously look for better solutions and better platforms for us to carry out our job.
Just curious, your transformation team, you said it's about 5 or 6 people. How big is your IT team now?
Oh, I don't really know the exact number. If I'm not wrong, it's about 15 to 20 people.
Thank you, Chung Han. Before I come to Caroline, I want to come to Magnus first, because from an industry perspective, what are some of the recommended practices in managing cybersecurity risk? Are there, maybe you can elaborate on some of the tools or best practices that are available?
Sure, and as echo what Chung Han says, this is a very serious topic, because if we don't get this right, we won't have any digitalization and we won't have the support to do decarbonization. So as DNV, as I mentioned in the beginning, we build recommended practices, and we have built one which is called Cybersecurity Resilience Management, which we have built together with the industry at large and our customers to give guidance on how to avoid, cyber hazards, ranging from, spoofing of GPS signals to multi-factor authentication and password management. And this is a really good guide for how to operate with cybersecure operations. But for those that, for example, haven't really started at all, we also have tools like, it's an online free tool called SMS Cybersecurity Quick Check, where you can test. It's free, easy, 15 minutes checked to see how you're doing against the ISM requirement, which you could say is minimum, but you can get started. Further to this, we have cybersecurity class notation, and I think we have some more than 100 projects already going with cybersecurity class notations and type approvals, meaning that we have second to none experience in implementing and fixing this. And as always, we do have the global advisory unit that recommends from A to Z on how to do this properly, fit for purpose.
Oh, excellent. So many initiatives that's ongoing right now. Thank you, Magnus. Caroline, can I pick your brains on this one too, but from 2 perspectives? What is Honglan Marine doing in terms of managing cybersecurity? And on the SSA side, what are we doing to help the SMEs manage this risk?
Okay, so I think cybersecurity must go hand in hand with whatever you have right now. So if you're not thinking about cybersecurity, you have to think about that now. And actually, there are many third-party solutions right now on cybersecurity. And actually, as a company, we have actually worked with many third-party providers on making sure that we have all the barriers in place. And even then, that is not 100% foolproof, but you try your best to have that. Then when we talk about SSA, so before I go to SSA, when you go to this transformation journey, cybersecurity must go hand in hand. It must really go hand in hand. So then SSA, we saw this that is going to affect our SMEs, and in fact, my DTC chair saw that, and he set up a cybersecurity subcommittee. So now, in fact, recently we signed an MOU together with the Asian Ship Owners Association and Class NK to actually have a platform for reporting of cybersecurity incidents. And this is to gain learnings and then spread out the awareness and the education to the rest of the companies. And the other thing that we saw as lacking was cybersecurity insurance. If you look at the insurance products out there for maritime companies, it is complex. And it is so many carve-outs. And the questionnaire that you have to answer, actually I did one exercise, and after a while I actually folded the paper and went to sleep and decided I'll start again tomorrow. So Then how do we make it coherent and simplify it for the SMEs?
Yeah.
So I think that's what we hope as an association to work with third-party players to come up with a platform. Hopefully all the SMEs can come in and they can find that products available for insurance as well as to understand about cybersecurity.
It's really heartening to see that there are really many different initiatives being implemented at different levels, targeted at different stakeholders. I also want to now come to this question because according to DNV, one of the key components in mitigating cybersecurity risk was the application of human-centered design, right? For systems with technologies that are meant to make life a lot easier for the people operating these ships. Can you just elaborate a little bit more on that, Magnus?
Yeah, I guess it's two angles to it. And first of all is the angle of digitalization, bringing connected devices closer to people. And people we all know is the biggest cybersecurity risk in cybersecurity. So that's like you have to make sure that it's cyber secure all the way there, and you can do that by obviously making it human-centric design. But for example, very simple things that we implement in Veracity is multi-factor authentication.
Okay.
It secures a 99% security on passwords being, what do you call it, illegal logins. Yeah, I think that's at least some angles to it.
Thank you, Magnus. I know, Chung-Han, we talked about this a little bit earlier, the application of human-centered design for some of your, what do you call that, your user interfaces, right? Tell us a bit more. What's happening on that front? What else do you have in the pipeline at PIL?
Various softwares that we are putting now in place that promotes safety training, especially. Safety awareness. We are using online learning platform, etc. And although it is very, down to earth concept, training platforms and all that. Even for that, we ensure that in terms of cybersecurity, that element it is fully covered as well. Yeah, there are proprietary training programs put in by the service providers. And just off the top of my head, this is one something that is very current. Yeah, to answer your question.
Thank you, Chung-Han. Caroline, how about your thoughts on this question?
So you talk about human-centered applications.
Yes.
So when I think of that, I think how it does for my crew on board the ship. So, in the last 10 years, the regulations has become more stringent, and with every single regulation, paperwork comes in. So the administrative burden on the crew has been more and more. So what I would like to see is the Internet of Things, the sensors, and the applications on board that reduces all this burden of my crew so that they go back to do what they are best at, and that is seafaring and cargo operations. This is what I want the applications to be on board.
It's supposed to make their life easier, more efficient, and so that they can perform best in the areas that they specialize in, right?
Exactly.
Rather than the other way around, be bogged down by the paperwork and systems, trying to understand a new system.
Yeah, so it has to be, I think what Chung-Han said earlier about being user-friendly, I want to Apple the ship so that it becomes so user-friendly.
I want Apple.
Yeah, so it becomes so user-friendly for my crew, and they just tap on the button and they use an iPad and all the information get transferred. They don't have to transfer that into a writing and having that checklist. Everything just automatically, the data just pushes itself to all the different reports that it needs to be given, and then they just do what they're best at.
Absolutely. We will get there.
And we will get there.
Pretty soon. I'm sure we will get there. Yeah. Not impossible. Now, we still have a bit of time left. I wanted to ask each of you. We talked about new technologies, the advent of technologies, Internet of Things. So going around the table, what would you say is a new innovation or technology that you are most excited about, that you think could be a real game changer for accelerating decarbonization in the maritime industry? Magnus.
I don't think I have a simple answer to
Give you two.
give it to.
Let you say two.
And I don't even have a single technology, but what gets me excited about the topics we're talking about here today is the progress on alternative fuels and on the combustion engines and the bunkering facilities, and the amount of money and heads going into solving that problem is very exciting to watch.
That was more than two.
No, that was one. That was one.
Okay.
And the second, which is the second part of solving the decarb, is connectivity and available data that you trust. So, these two things is what's going to fix decarbonization, and that gets me excited.
Thank you, Magnus. Chung-Han?
Yeah, I think what excites me now is what I see with the coupling of harnessing of data analytics, data assessment, and coupling it with artificial intelligence. I saw a very good example recently where a solutions provider has shown to me by using data collected from my ship's operations and incorporating artificial intelligence, that solution can actually tell me when I should clean the hull of my ship, so that when the ship goes again, it will reduce the fuel consumption.
Of course,
I mean, I cannot do it every port because there's a cost element and a downtime associated to it. But that solution can assess and can let me know when is the optimum time to do so.
So much more efficient, right? Thank you, Chung-Han. Caroline?
Yeah, so actually when I started on this digital transformation journey with my company, the first thing I told them is, why am I doing this? I'm doing this because at the end of the day, I want to have quality data, because quality data will give me the proper insights and will give me the predictive answers. So that is one part. But actually what really excites me now is just in time. To me, that is very, is within my grasp. So I really like to see the digitalization of the ports, the different ports, and within Singapore ports, so that we have just-in-time arrival. When the ship comes in, it goes to berth straight away. It has the marine services for seamless delivery of services, and therefore that will all help the route optimization as well as lowering of the carbon footprint.
Exactly. I think you could see significant reduction in GHG with that just-in-time operations. Let's take one more question from our Q&A. This is from Sean. Could you discuss the level of maturation of digital twins, virtual tours with VIM integration, or what your goals are on this? Is anyone on the panel yet using this marine tech for vessel familiarization or the construction and life cycle management? Chung-Han?
Ivan, if I may.
Yes, please.
Yeah, I mentioned about virtual reality training for the crew just now. Yeah, this is something that we are dabbling with in association with the Center of Excellence in Singapore Maritime Institute. They are developing virtual reality training where if you the crew wear the goggles and you can
VR headsets and all that.
VR headsets, and you can actually walk around the engine room, or you can even launch a free fall lifeboat. It is being used in that sense when it comes to.
What was the reception to that so far?
Yeah, the reception is very positive because it is convenient, it's safe, and it's effective. Yeah.
Thank you, Chung-Han. Magnus, at DNV, have you guys advised any firms who have gone through this as well?
Yes, and obviously we do tons when it comes to digital twins and virtual and remote and all of it. And as Chung-Han says, the level of potential in this technology is very, very big. And it is definitely out there, and it's not so difficult to take use of. So we apply tons of this technology already in our classification work every day with our surveyors before they're going on board. We provide technology so that customers can do it themselves on top of Veracity, and we have software packages to do this, to do hull inspections. So this is, I would say, starting to get quite mature.
Caroline, at the SME level, would this be something that's accessible for them too, or?
I'll be very frank, it's going to be very costly because, this digital twin excites me, because being in the office, and if there's something happens to your engine, you have to go into the computer and you see your digital twin and you know exactly what's happening and you can solve the problem together with the ship engineer. To me, I think it's efficient. It also gives that support to the ships, and it will it will solve problems quicker and then you can be more efficient. But it's costly. And I'm just wondering whether the SMEs are ready to do that. Yeah.
What can we do to bring the cost down or just make it a bit more accessible? Are there alternatives to this at this point in time, you think?
I would like to look at Magnus.
Yeah, Magnus.
No, I think there are different alternatives. A digital twin can be, a number in an Excel page, all the way up to a full-fledged 3D model, which is connected to 5,000 sensors. So again, back to this fit-for-purpose thing. It's don't get sucked into this everything that is 3D and glossy and glowy and so nice to look at.
Use the word glossy, yeah.
That's if you're figuring out where you think live information connected, giving in the context to what you're working with can help you. Start there and build upon, because very often, as Caroline says, it's very typical that you get to a digital twin which is data driven, not so much on the virtual and interaction. And to get to that next level with the 3D model, that's when the cost typically hits in bigger.
Thank you, Magnus. We've really delved into quite a few topics today. And I think before we wrap, I would love to hear from each of you too, a piece of advice that you would like to give to other players in the industry who may be looking to kickstart their own digitalization journey, or may have been, like Honglam Marine, was at that stage where maybe things are not working out and it's time to actually bite the bullet and make a painful decision to stop and restart. What would you say to them, and what are some of the primary steps they need to take, and maybe some obstacles or risks that they need to manage too right from the onset? Let's start with Chung Han.
Yeah, I think I'll go back to the three main areas that I mentioned earlier. One is, of course, to decide which solutions best suited for your company.
Fit for purpose.
Fit for purpose. Number two, of course, to have the willingness to invest, to win over the management and the board. On that sense, we are very lucky in PIL that we have a board and a management that is very much supportive of digitalization and our decarbonization journey. And the third one is to manage change with the employees and the staff within the company once you embark on that journey.
So fit for purpose, making sure your stakeholders at the top are on board, and then bottom-up approach also. Change management happens from every single employee. You got to make sure you get that buy-in, right?
Yes,
Thank you, Chung Han. Caroline.
Yeah, so I echo that, so I'm not going to repeat that because that is very good advice. What I would like to add on is that for SMEs, the owners have to drive the change. I think the owners needs to be on board with it, and once the owner is driving that change, the obstacles can be dealt with to solve the problems that comes with it.
Thank you. Very well said. Thank you, Caroline. Magnus?
I'm not trying then not to echo too much, but the technology is here. So as I said, what's going to set the winners apart from the losers is the ones that manage to successfully implement change in the right direction with the technology. And what does that mean in simple terms? It means that if you don't know where you are, where your competition is, and where you need to be, by when, you're just going to be scrambling. So you got to do all of this answering the why and the what before you start to delve so much into sustainable how. So I think, and then don't be afraid to get some help, be it consultants, be it neighbor, be it the industry consortium, be it SSA with DTC. Change always is easier if you get expert advice, so you don't need to figure out or reinvent the wheel, and also to get that facilitation. So answer why and what before you start delving into
how.
Complex predictive maintenance pilots, for example, that just die after 3 months.
Excellent. Wise words, really great advice. Figure out your what and your why before you delve into the how and the glossy, complex things. And of course, if you need help, you know who to go to. So I just want to say a big thank you to Chung Han, Caroline, and Magnus. I really enjoyed our discussion today. Thank you for all your valuable perspectives, very candid insights, and telling it like it really is. To our online audience, I think my panelists today have really shared some very real-life observations of what it's like trying to to implement digital solutions within their organizations, as well as the very real challenges that they've encountered as ship owners and operators. And I think our discussion today truly highlights why it is so important for us to innovate the future of shipping and to embrace smarter maritime operations so that we can accelerate decarbonization and, I believe, ultimately build resilience into the maritime sector. So once again, huge thank you to my panelists and to you, our audience, for submitting some really great questions today. Thank you for that. Now, if you'd like to catch a replay of any of the content pieces from today's webinar, you'll be pleased to know that a video on demand will be made available after the recording. Once again, my name is Yvonne Chan. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of our Live from Singapore webinar series. We will see you at the next one. Thank you and goodbye.